What are we doing here, hun?
Okay, this is a fun one. We are gonna do some tomato suckers that we pulled off some tomato plants, and we're gonna grow them in 2 different ways. And I'm really interested to see how this goes. So, yeah, just to quickly break it down, what I did a couple of weeks ago, we pruned a bunch of our tomatoes in the back. And then I took our Bokashi, filled this bag, and then put the Bokashi grain in there. As you can see, it is a beautiful, beautiful substance now. So the other part of this, put that back in the cooler. The other part of this is that we just got some pots from a nursery, free pots, and we're using a bit of our double ground free wood chips. So that's going to be the base. What I'm going to do is put one of the Bokashi, or all of the Bokashi tomato clippings in the bottom of this. The bottom of this one, nothing. Then I'm going to, this is just our, well, they call it compost. The high-grade topsoil is what we'll call it, what we got. And I mixed a little perlite in there with it just to give it some porosity. So yeah, it'll just be a fun little trial. We'll get them planted up, and then we'll bring you back. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do, and then we'll run some updates. So let's go. Okay, so we just threw the Bokashi in the bottom of this pot here. We're gonna mark it with our fancy wood chip. And I've got 2 clones. See, really nice roots on them. And what I've been doing with all our tests, whether it's worm casting tea or Bokashi or mulching, is I've always put the smaller one in the one that we're actually using our amendments on. So this is the smaller one. I'm going to put it into the Bokashi one. Now, no other amendments at all. This is just, like I said, compost, what they call compost here, and a little bit of perlite. And then both of these will get worm casting tea. From our other tests, we're finding that the worm casting tea is definitely a worthwhile amendment. So they'll both get worm casting tea. I'm running some other trials, some with, some without, and they're interesting. So as you can see, this one's much bigger. It's got a much nicer root ball to it, and we'll just see how they go. So. Okay, couldn't be easier. Allie, thanks for the tip. We've normally always just taken our suckers, slammed them in soil. They've worked well. It looks like they're gonna die for a couple days. They really limp over, but then they come back. But this was really cool just to see how many of the roots came out. So as you can see, Bokashi in this one, nothing in this one. This one is obviously bigger. And we'll just track the growth over the next couple weeks. Okay, I think I said 2 weeks. It's 6 weeks. It's September 5th or 6th right now, not sure. But we're back, and we have some exciting stuff to show you guys. This is the tomatoes plant, straight up. No Bokashi, no nothing. It just got worm tea every week. So, looks good. It's got 1, 2, 3 trusses on it. Then this plant here that got the Bokashi, or the tomato plant treated Bokashi mixture as a fertilizer at the base, has 1, 2, 3, 4 trusses on it. So with a bonus fruit already. Now we are early September. So we're gonna have to top these guys. They're not gonna put on any more tomatoes, or if they do, it definitely won't make it. So, and we have 2 ginormous suckers that we're also gonna take off here and use for our overwintering tomato plants. So I'll just quickly do that, and then we'll come back and share some closing thoughts. All right, as you guys can see, I just took off the two suckers and just trimmed them up, put them in some water, and we'll let them root in and then plant them into some pots. The other thing I did was just clean up some of the lower leaves that were showing some age. So now we have some very skinny tomato plants ready to produce some fruit. So, and I did also leave a few of the suckers that are about to be that are just leafing out, and we'll see if we can save those and use them in our overwintering project as well. So really fun one. Love to say the Bokashi made a huge difference. Not totally sold on it, but definitely worth continuing with it. And yeah, love to hear you guys' thoughts on it too. Yeah, pretty cool. So
I have a couple questions.
Questions.
Okay, so what kind of tomatoes are these?
These are Marbonnes, and that reminds me, I want to show you something pretty cool. So can we go down and just check it out?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll bring this plant with me.
Okay.
Okay, I'm so glad you asked me that question because I totally would have forgotten. So this plant here was a sucker off of this plant. Now this is the plant that I'm doing the stress test on. There's two here that I'm doing stress test on. This is another Marbonne that was taken off Marbonne that's growing out in our tomato area. It produced a sucker. The sucker went into water, then it went into the soil, and it's actually caught up and surpassed it. So this is an excellent demonstration of what tying up nutrients do. So let's go back up onto the patio because it's windy AF out here. Okay, do you want Question number 2?
Question number 2 is, why are you taking cuttings from this plant rather than trying to save seeds from this plant?
Marbonnes are F1s. So I could grow tomatoes from these seeds, but it wouldn't necessarily come out as a Marbonne. So, and it's fun to take cuttings. I'm terrible at it, so this is something that's fun to learn with. Tomato cuttings are like the easiest thing to root in my short experience.
So the idea is that we keep it alive over the winter, and then in the spring we'll have Marbonnes to plant.
Yes.
And we won't...
Speaking of that, I had a thought out here last night. It's pretty crazy. Do you guys think that plants are genetically engineered to reach a certain height, or will they go infinitely high? Because by the time next spring rolls around and we have some survived Marbonnes, let's just say the first sucker earlier this year was taken off a Marbonne out there. The second sucker would have been taken off a Marbonne right here. These suckers would have been taken off a Marbonne plant that thought it was about right here. So when these suckers grow up and older and we take suckers off of them, it's going to think it's up here. You see where I'm going with this?
I do.
By next spring, we're going to have, hopefully, a Marbonne sucker that thinks it's up there. Man, my vert is not very good anymore. It's going to be way up there. So what I'm going to be really interested in, we have Marbonne seeds. We're going to plant, obviously, seeds. But we're going to be able to compare what the suckers do compared to the seeded plants. Like, is it going to be just genetically kind of, not genetically spent, is it going to be spent by the time we plant this guy's grandkid in the soil next year?
That's interesting, because I would think that it would feel like it's just starting over as a new plant. Okay.
I'm not saying I'm normal.
This is a good question too.
Sometimes I have too much pop and caffeine.
It's mostly coffee. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, that was my second question, so okay. Excellent, thank you.
Okay, so for the very few people that are still left, I have a crazy theory, and the reason why I'm saying this right now is so I can look back in 2, 5, 10 years and probably laugh at how out there this theory is, but maybe there's some big brains out there that can say, yeah, you're nuts, or maybe you're onto something. So, yeah, let's go. Okay, I totally think that the Bokashi outperformed the regular soil because of one major thing, and it's phosphorus solubilizing microbes. So with NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, they are available in all soils, but most of them are tied up and they're not what's called plant available. Now, Bacillus, lactobacillus, Bacillus in particular, has the ability to unbound phosphorus from elements like, I think it's aluminum, iron, and other ones that I'm forgetting right now. But it has a way of unbinding those and allowing it to become plant available. So what Bokashi is simply lactobacillus that we've combined with spent grains, and is then activated when it starts fermenting, in this case tomato cuttings. So what I'm really interested in is Jay in the future, if he still agrees with that. The thing is, with phosphorus, it's obviously great for the cellular walls of plants, but it also is linked to a healthy growing tip. Now, you can see, well, you can't see, but I can see there is definitely a difference in the growing tips of each of these plants. This one is much, much healthier. Now, is that from the more plant available phosphorus going on, or is it something completely more simple, like this one got a little bit more water? I did my best to do exactly the same on both of these, because what's the point if I don't? So, yeah, future Jay, I think he's gonna have a good laugh, but some of you big brains out there, if you understood anything I said, and you could let me know if I'm on the right track or just on the train tracks, that would be awesome. Speaking of awesome, taking up way too much of your time, stay awesome. Okay, super sorry, one last real quick thing. Of course, we're gonna take these in a month, or whenever the first frost hits and it kills them off, we're gonna have a look at the soil structure. I'm betting on the Bokashi having much more vigorous roots than the one that's just planted in soil. But we'll see how it goes. So, okay, we rolling?
Mm-hmm.